on the day when the ICC prosecutor appeals to ICC judiciary to okay warrants for the arrest of top Israeli and Hamas officials for war crimes and crimes against humanity, we got footage of Israeli soldiers in Gaza. It's not a war crime to do this, but I think like showing the sort of genocidal intent in the sense that they want to eliminate any type of material connection that Palestinians living in Gaza have to Gaza. Destroying homes, they've destroyed cemeteries, they've destroyed all sorts of institutions that
which is a classic one, cemeteries.
Yes. And institutions, right? Like if there's no education institutions, no colleges, there's no universities, there's no hospitals, all the infrastructure, all of the things that mark milestones. That's why, burial grounds are so important. This is what erasure is about. And, even small, like things that you own, that may have been in your family, these become ways of breaking sort of like connection, and it really is an assault on people. I mean, I've talked about my friend Benny Bruner's documentary from years ago about the books that the nascent Israel stole from Palestinians in 1948 when they drove them from their homes. They stole these books and they have them now, like a huge floor of the National Library in the basement. You can't go and see them. You don't have access to them. But they take these books because these books are sort of like evidence of a culture, of an existence that exists there. And the way that you erase that is by getting rid of all these books. And
Benny Bruner actually has this online on his YouTube channel, The Great Book Robbery.
And that is one mechanism. And here's another. Is that you just go in and you just take like needlessly destroy any things that people owned and had to abandon when they ran. And, if their homes are not destroyed, well, then let's just, have fun destroying things that may be of import to people. In some ways, it's sort of like banal, not particularly like, it's banal, but it is, there's something about it that's incredibly evil. He's just smashing this China, which is it's just a way of like, they've gone in and he's purposely collected all the China and destroying it. And then back in Israel, you see this happening. Roving bands of right-wing, maybe not necessarily right-wing in the context of Israel.
Fascist.
I don't know what else to call them, thugs. Stopping trucks that they suspect
are carrying food to Gaza.
Watch this. This is in Jerusalem.
This is right after that, just made the news that guy got torn from his truck and beaten because they suspected this, and oops, turns out he wasn't.
Now, I should just say, as you're looking at these images, there are police in Jerusalem. I mean, this is the point. Like, why? Pull up the tweet though by
Barak Ravid of Axios.
Yeah, this is what's really sort of interesting here.
Man, having to give the manifest to a gang of thugs on the road is real, like, dystopia stuff.
It was associated with that other tweet.
Yeah, it's basically Barak Ravid, as you're finding it, Bradley, tweeted out this video and said, I think what should be regarded as a racist remark, comparing this action by these extremist Israeli activists as to Somalia.
Get the tweet and put it up.
You could probably go to my feed, and I've probably retweeted some condemnations of it.
I sent it to you.
He compares it to Somalia.
Well, yeah, he says this is Somalia. And here's the thing. I mean, the fact is that it's nothing like Somalia. I mean, he's trying to imply like, oh, you've got like now there's chaos and there's these roving bands of militias. Well, the fact of the matter is that the big difference here is that this is far worse because there is a central government. Here it is. He says Somalia and Jerusalem. And the fact is, you pop that up. The fact is this is far worse because Jerusalem is not a city in a country that has no central government. Jerusalem is not a city in a country that has been either, war torn by rival gangs or civil war or militias. No, these people are doing this under the auspices of a central government. A central government, mind you, that has the ability to arrest people when they put up a Facebook post that the government doesn't like. The idea that these people there is some type of chaos happening in Jerusalem, or that there's like roving bands of competing, militias that are doing checkpoints, that this is somehow like Beirut in the wake of the Israeli invasion, or it's like Haiti after, a natural disaster or an assassination, or like Somalia, or like any other sort of like war-torn or failed state. No, this is exactly the opposite. If you're looking for an analogy for roving bands of fascists who are vigilante groups inhibiting aid or support for anybody else, you don't look to Somalia. You look to Europe, and you look to the brown shirts, or maybe you look to like Central America, where there are right-wing, death squads that are doing this work under the auspices of a government that wants their hands washed of it. This is not Somalia. Somalia is like you're talking about, like chaos and nobody's in control and people are vying for power. No, this is done under the auspices of a country and a military and a police force that will beat you if you are protesting against beating the families of hostages.
Yep. Or lock you up if you're a teacher who expresses you mentioned that earlier, any support for the Palestinian people. It's like, honestly, it's this delusion that works backwards from, well, Israel is morally righteous in its bones. And so because it is because in the liberal Zionist view, it is reparations for the Holocaust, we begin with morality, and then any offshoots of it are in some way contradictory or threatening the inherent morality of the project. When we know, when you play that video of these IDF soldiers who are destroying China, who had been wearing Palestinian lingerie and underwear for women and mocking that, or whatever the case may be.
Riding their rocking horses.
Yeah, all you need to do is go look at the Nakba and know that when the State of Israel was founded, they also made a point to destroy every aspect that they could of Palestinian life, homes, and culture to pave way for the glistening city of Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel. And that just is a rolling extension. So when we commemorate the Nakba last week and the 76th anniversary of it, these images today, and I saw the other day too, Israeli soldiers were painted graffiti Nakba 2023 a few, back at the end of the year.
I mean, from the start, they knew what time it was.
Yeah, I mean, which they deny, but then when they get to wink and nod, they say that's exactly what we're doing. So this is this is not a war in that way, and I'm hoping we're beginning to move past that conversation. This is a continuation of an erasure of a people that began over 75 years ago.
They still want to do it. We still want to naturalize. We still want to have the agreement with the Saudis to say maybe actually it is all Israel. Look at the new map that Bibi presented to Congress. Like, he literally came to our Congress with a map that said that entire region is Israel now. And, we act like we don't know what's going on. We act like we don't know what's going on because we can't.
Joanna, while I agree that a single-state solution is a much better option than a two-state solution, do you think that there's any chance at all of a single-state solution happening? I could see a small but possible chance of a two-state solution happening, but a single-state solution that isn't just Israel taking full control and kicking out the Palestinians seems basically impossible that it would happen. Am I being
They said the same stuff about Jim Crow South. They said the same stuff about apartheid South Africa. It must be imposed on them. I'm not gonna
Yeah, there's what's practical and what we advocate for ultimately, and two nationalisms isn't my preferred solution. If that's the one the world can actually get behind, then so be it. Let's see it happen, but let's not pretend like the obstacle is people demanding one democratic state that isn't privileging any religion.
And I want people to just literally think geographically and practically about what a Palestinian state would look like right now. Israel divided the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem on purpose to undercut the idea of there being a Palestinian state. So that is to Matt's point about what Netanyahu shows up to the UN or whatever it is with the full map of Israel. That is the end goal. So two-state solution, if that's what gets Palestinian statehood, that's a step forward to one democratic secular state. We can accept that, of course, because it's more than what they've been given. But the point is just that it's not tenable. I actually do believe that the two-state solution in the long run is the least realistic option of all of these. The most realistic options that are left, one democratic secular state, or the erasure of Palestinians entirely. And we cannot accept it. We cannot accept it.
Pat from Michigan says, would there be a path to a one-state solution through a temporary two-state solution?
Sure.
I know that's currently an anathema to Israel, U.S., and the Western powers at large, but has been any discourse around this by informed politicians, diplomats, or scholars? Two-state solution seems like a recipe for more war. One-state solution seems politically impossible right now. I think that's more or less what Emma's saying. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine either one of them, frankly. And when you start getting down into the potential for either one in those percentages, versus Israel just becoming a pariah state and perpetual war, not just with assaults on Gaza. I don't know, but it's hard to argue that advocating for a one-state solution, just as a political matter, is not the better course, because the advocacy for a two-state solution allowed for it to get mired in obfuscation and sort of technicalities, and it allowed for Israel to continue to build so-called facts on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. And so as a political matter, you ask for the whole loaf. And the idea that it's unrealistic is make the argument that it's more unrealistic than a two-state solution, because the two-state solution has been on the table for 50 years, and there is absolutely zero indication that we are anywhere except for further away from its viability than we were 50 or 60 years ago. I mean, by any possible measure, except maybe the idea that people are coming closer to a one-state solution, which may put more pressure on Israel.
It makes more intuitive sense to people too when you say, how about everybody just gets protected rights and there's, you know, equality, as opposed to like, okay, let's try to, this map, this line goes here, that line goes there. How are they going to communicate between? Like it just doesn't work.
And it's very easy to obscure, you know, what a two-state deal is on the table, right? I mean, the big thing that they were saying out of Oslo was like, the Israelis gave them 98% of everything. And I've made this analogy before. It's like, okay, you and I get divorced. We're going to split the house. I'm going to give you 98% of the house, 95% of the house. I just get to keep the kitchen and the bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and you also don't get a car. Like, well, you know, the other ones, they don't have their own military force. So just, but
yeah, you guys can have
crowded.
95% of North Dakota. I just want the banks of the Missouri River, please.
Yeah, exactly. And also, your mail can't get delivered here.
Right.
You don't get the internet, too. Just to be honest with you, like, that's the other thing. I control the internet. But you're getting 98% of the house. It's just no plumbing.
It's nice to quantify it like that.
Yeah.
Percentages. It's very useful.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.